Right. Long time no see. I have a couple of ARs cleaned today. Thought I'd hop in and just do a video right quick. First one is a Saint. Don't know what a Saint is. That's an AR pistol made by Springfield Armory. And the second one is actually an Armalite with the red dot scope. And it looks to be, what, is that a 16-inch gun? I think so. And got my new handy dandy cool tool cart pulled up here. So I shouldn't have to do a lot of running today, like sometimes I do. I have to shut you off. But if that sounds like something you want to watch, let's watch it. I know I find that you watch and I'll make it. How's that sound? I know that a lot of times I see guys cleaning ARs on YouTube, and man, they leave them wet and sloppy. Y'all, I have never. I've been running an AR since the 80s. I was like, me and one other guy I knew in this county actually had an AR back in that day, and I have never run an AR sloppy wet. I don't know where these guys come off with this. That's what you got to do to make one run. I have never had to do that. So I'm going to show you how I do it. I don't want to say I use oil sparingly, but I have found some grease that actually works really good. You know, it's not unusual to go in a day for me to go, whether hot or cold or, you know, perfect weather, and shoot anywhere from 100 to 300 rounds, sometimes 500 in a day. And when you consider the first AR I had, which I still have, is an old Colt SP1 Shorty. Doesn't even have a forward assist. It's the old flat-sided version. No rib fence around the mag release. I think I've shown it on here a couple of times. I can count on my hand the times that rifle has a malfunction on me. And in just about every occasion, it has been due to ammunition, not the gun stopping. That thing is a tough little gun. My next step was to a Bushmaster. Just as many rounds through that bushy as the old one, because I put the old one up. They got to where they were so expensive, I thought, man, I'm gonna fool around and blow this thing up and be out a couple grand. So because it is the old pre-band SB1 and SP1, excuse me, and so I started shooting a Bushmaster Shorty at that time, and that was probably the mid-90s. And then, you know, I've gone on to other ARs, but that is still it's one of my main ones that I keep, the old Bushmaster. And it still runs good, it still shoots good. But, you know, I later got a SIG 5.16 patrol rifle, which is you know, it's a gas piston, it's not gas impingement. So, y'all, I have never seen the need to leave an AR wet or greasy. I will show you today how I lube one. I'm just gonna keep the camera on while I clean. I don't know how long the video will be. You know, I try to keep them 20 to 30 minutes. And I'll just put in anything I think is pertinent. When I do the editing, I'll just drop in and slow down and let you see what's going on, okay? All right, so I'm taking this one apart. And I noticed the bolt was very sluggish to pull back. I want to show you something. Right, don't know if you can see it, but right there in that hole, there should be that cotter key protruding. It's not. Do you see how it's standing out proud right here? Somebody didn't put it all the way back in the last time this rifle was cleaned. And I was wondering why it was extremely sluggish to pull that bolt. And you can see that it has wear on the cotter key from not being seated all the way. So that is going to improve the feel of this rifle considerably from when the owner brought it to me. And it's going to make it so that he's really going to feel a difference when he retracts that bolt now. It has been fired, so it was working in that condition. I'm going to get all this stuff soaking so I can give the bore a good scrub. Now I'll come back. I want to show you specifically how I clean out the gas tube. I think that's something that gets neglected a lot. So one of the things I want to show you when you take the extractor off, this is a very handy item. If you don't use one of these, I recommend you do. This is a Defender ring. It's just a small, really just a small O-ring that fits around the extractor spring, and it increases your extractor pressure, they say, by 400%. I don't know, but you can see that this is dirty. I'm going to clean it off. We've already soaked it in our favorite cleaner. I'm not going to tell you what to use. You use whatever you want to use. But you can plainly see the gunk there. And now we got it nice and shiny, maybe. You can see under the extractor ring. And that claw, just make sure all that's good and clean. I'm going to set that out of the way. I got something that I like to do with the bolt. You can use any kind of cleaner you want, but just remember, gas goes through here. If you're going to be using something on your gas system, use something that dries. And you'll see I run this pipe cleaner right through. You can see. Run that pipe cleaner right through that. You can see how filthy that comes out of there. And I'll take the other end, the clean end, and just kind of dry it out. But you can see it pass right through where the extractor sits, if you have the extractor off. Now we're going to get a toothbrush. We're going to scrub these bolt lugs really good. Despite wiping it off several times, they're still a little crusty. So we're going to give that a good scrubbing. Here's another thing I do. I run this pipe cleaner right down in the gas carrier key, the keyway, and you can feel it make the turn. And you can look and confirm that it's poking out down in there. I don't know if you can see it or not, but that gets all that scrubbed out of there. Okay. All right, We have the bolt cleaned up. I always offset the gas rings so that the gaps aren't lined up, just like the pistons when you put them in your car on a rebuild. You don't want the piston rings lined up with each other. You're going to be losing compression. That's the same thing we got going on here. Now, before we put that back together, we're going to clean the firing pin. We're going to clean the camming pin. All that's going to be good and clean when we put it back together. Nice and slick. Now, the oil that I'm using on these parts is a dry lube. It evaporates away. It's a cleaner and a lube. That is not all the lubrication I'm going to use. When I said I run one relatively dry, I don't mean that dry. Alright, so the firing pin's going to be a little stubborn. It was a little crusty, but it's cleaning up really nice. So do a little scrub in there to remove some carbon. You can just use like a 12 gauge bore brush. It's gentle enough. It's not going to hurt the part. Goodness gracious. Let's get it good and shine back up. We want all the carbon off of it because it's got to slide really well. When you're doing this, always look at the end of the firing pin for chips. If there's any chips here, it's time for the firing pin to be replaced. Can't have any chips. That's a hardened part, and it needs to be of the proper configuration to reliably detonate the round in the chamber. Okay, so that's good. Cam pin's good. Extractor looks good. All right, there's the cotter key. All right, we're going to put this bolt back together with the bolt carrier, and I'll show you where I lube a bolt carrier before I put it in. But we are going to clean this upper and the bore as well. I'm not sure you can see it, but I have one of those long pipe cleaners right there inserted into the gas tube. And if you get it in far enough, you can actually see it make the turn into the barrel. This one is just barely protruding, and all I do to get it out, and this is the same way I put it in. Matter of fact, I'll show you. I just take a pair of needle nose. Can you see that? And I'll take it and work it in just a little at a time. Like that. And when you're ready for it to come out, you just pull it out. Believe it or not, this it's more like a little dusting than anything. It was very clean when it came out. the reason I do that, I had somebody bring me an AR one time that was not cycling at all. And I thought I knew what was wrong. I thought it was a loose bolt carrier gas key. And that wasn't the problem at all. I checked the carrier key, and it was still on as solid as a rock and staked real good. Of course, the next thing I checked was the gas ring, because it was making no attempt whatsoever to cycle. And I need to scrub that a little more. And so what I did was put a little brake cleaner with a red hose in the gas tube and sprayed. And while I could see drips coming out, most of the brake cleaner came back like out into like my face. It wasn't spraying out into the bore of the rifle. So I tried to do the pipe cleaner thing. It would never make that turn. And if you got long enough ones, they ought to be able to make that turn. You ought to, if you just go a little at a time with those needle nose pliers and push them up into that gas tube, when they get to the end, they ought to make the turn. This one would never make the turn. Finally, I just scrubbed the bore and scrubbed the bore and scrubbed the bore. That was in the days before we had a bore scope that I could put down in there. And it was a piece of jacket material that had stripped off and basically blocked after a time of bullet stripping. And what had happened is, I think they had left a small burr on the edge of the gas port, so that when those bullets went down that bore, each one would strip a little bit of copper jacket off. Then it finally got to the point where it's plugged, and I if I'm not wrong, I used a guitar string to finally push, and thank goodness it was more or less just blocking it. It wasn't like stuck in there. But once I got it moving, it popped out, and I pushed it out the end of the bore, and it's just small fragments of copper jacket material. So that's basically where I run a pipe cleaner up there. I don't put any oil on the pipe cleaner. No lube whatsoever. Just run it up through there and then bring it out. Make sure it slides up in there good and comes out good. And I guess you could use something that evaporates completely to spray up the pipe cleaner down when you're pushing it up in there, but I usually don't even do that. If it feels clean, it is clean. That's kind of the way I look at it. If that thing goes up in there smooth, makes the turn, comes out into the barrel, that's all you need. I mean, obviously, if the pipe cleaner fit in there well, there's gas is going to get through. So I just thought I'd show you that one little trick I do, just to make sure nothing covering up the gas port, and that pipe cleaner comes all the way through. And you can get the pipe cleaners from Brownells, if I didn't say that before, and they're long enough. And of course, you want to ease them in slow. You don't want to get any kinks in the pipe cleaner while you're trying to push it in. So just use your needle nose to ease it in there, half inch at a time. And when it gets to the end, you can feel it get to the end, and you just keep working it back and forth, and it'll make that turn and pop out. You can see it popping out into the top of the bore. So that's one thing I do, just to make sure that gas port's not blocked. And this Armalite was a little crusty, but I got it fixed. We've scrubbed the bore. We got some pretty nasty patches out of the bore, and I'm going to scrub it one more time, and then we're going to put together, and I'm going to show you what I pay particular attention to when I lube one of them up. So here Here we have the bolt pieces. When you get it clean and scrubbed nice and slick, all these surfaces, like I said, make sure your gas rings are opposed. I'm going to move that one a little more. You know, try to get them each at 120 degrees. 12, 4, and 8, you know. I take a little bit of this. This is just standard CLP. I think this is break free. And I just put a drop or two on those gas rings. This is the last place that the gas is going to be. When you've got that good and clean, you put that back. Oh, look at me. I almost forgot to put the extractor on. Put the extractor back on. Where's the pin? Right there it is. And all of you know this is your extractor pin removal tool, right? And it'll also help you get it set so this down even. You don't want either side protruding out into the gun, right? Now, slide that back in there. Now take our camming pin. Still a little bit of oil on my fingers from the CLP that I put on the extractor. There it is. Of course, you turn the hole perpendicular so that your firing pin extraction, or that your extractor removal tool, almost blew the punch line there, didn't I? Fits right down in there. Now here's the key. This is where this becomes critical. When you put this in, you have to have your firing pin all the way forward, and this slides in. Now this is mungled up a little bit, so I may have to do something special to get it to all fit in there. But that thing is not in until you see both feet. And that's what I'm going to have to do. I'm going to have to take my needle nose and pinch that one foot together a little bit. And sometimes you can do this by going back to where the bend starts and just bending one single leg a little, you know. Alright, let's see. Let's see, pinch it together and see how it looks. That's pretty close. Can y'all see what I'm doing? Main thing is when you pinch it together, you want both them feet to be kind of tucked in toward each other. You don't want them sticking out from each other, because you're never going to get the pin to seat all the way if they're like that. I think that's what was going on. That's why the gun was so hard to cycle when he brought it to me. And you gotta monkey with it a little and make sure your firing pin stays flat against the gas carrier, or that's gonna present another problem. Trying to see which leg is bent. I believe it's that top one right there. Top one to me, bottom one to you. it gets really stubborn, you can stick a screwdriver, just a very small screwdriver back there, and just pinch those feet together at where you think the bend is. And then when you take the screwdriver out, the feet will be closer together. Do you see that? Okay. Now, see if she'll go in now. Yep, I think she's gonna fit this time. Look at there, slick as you can be. You want to make sure that that is not proud of that thing. And when you look over there, I don't know if you can see it, but you can see both legs through the hole. Now, once you put it in the upper, you don't have to worry about that moving. That the upper holds it holds it in place, okay? But Scott, it can't be proud of that. You got to see both little feet of that sticking through there, and make sure that it's not proud before you drop it back in your upper. Now, I'm going to pass on a little secret to you. Super Lube at Harbor Freight. I know Harbor Freight carries it. Y'all, it don't take but just a little bit. And an AR, just like an M1 Garand, will show you where they need a little bit of grease. Now this is just a light grease, and it's good down to like, what's it say, 40 below or something like that. I just put a little bitty wipe on these shiny spots right here. You see these shiny spots where the finish is wore? And see these right here? Those ride the inside of your upper. I just rub a little bit on those shiny spots. And you know what else you'll notice? You'll notice there's shiny spots on here as well. Very lightly. Just a little bit on my fingers. I just rub those high spots. And I figure they'll get right, that grease will get right where it needs to be. And don't forget the backs of them too, because that's where the force is against when they turn out, okay? Now, I've cleaned the upper, put a little dry lube on there. Can't tell you what that one is, that one's still a secret. But it will dry to where it looks just bone dry. But it will be as slick as you can imagine when it dries. All right, let's drop that back in there. I don't know that I'm supposed to show you this on YouTube. On the bearing surface, don't know if you can see it, on the bearing surface of the hammer, I'll put a little bit of this grease on the tip of the screwdriver, just a little bit, and I will put it in the sear notch on that hammer. Now if your hammer is not cocked, it's easy to see. Don't know if you can see it, but I put a little bit right down there in that notch. Also, put a little bit up here where it catches, where your sear catches. So that when you let the trigger when you have the trigger held back during firing, it will catch right here on this hook. I put a little bit of grease right there. And the way you can tell is when you hold the trigger in, if you pull back, you can feel your hammer catch there. When you release the trigger, it'll snap up to the notch in the hammer where you put the grease. Y'all, this is like an instant trigger job. Obviously, around where the spring is, just a drop or two of CLP will keep it nice and slick around that spring. Now comes the big test. And let's see, let's get that locked in there. I think we need some new gas rings on this gun. I'm going to recommend McFarland gas ring. If he wants me to order it, I will order it and put it back in for him. Nice and slick, much better. Now, remember, you can see a little bit of that grease I put on there. That's okay. That don't hurt a thing. It's mashing out a little bit. Okay, trigger reset's working good. Safety's working good. Safety comes off like it's supposed to. Keep the trigger held. Sear's working like it should. Disconnector. Everything's working like it should. Now, just give the outside of it a little wipe and we're ready to go with that one. Now we're going to pull this seine up. Okay, I'm just getting this little seine apart, getting everything wet down with some cleaner. I wanted to show you why I said I would recommend that owner of that Armalite. I'm going to recommend new gas rings. This Saint is relatively, I'm not going to say it's unshot. It's probably had several hundred rounds through it, but you can see how the gas rings fit nice and tight. Watch when I set it up. See there, it stays up. I can push it down, but it stays up under its own weight. Watch when I do the Armalite that way. See it immediately drop. Not enough resistance on those gas rings.